One. Hey, this is Rich over at TVP Live with another quick tips tutorials brought to you by Adobe Photoshop Elements Custom Tutorials Groups. And let's jump right into today's poster. Want us to know how to fix the gray on this hair. Now, you got to look at a couple things on this photo. It's kind of pretty low quality. As you zoom in, you can see that the detail is just not there. So it's going to be a little bit harder to do. And I wouldn't use the stamp cloning tool because of that. And plus, because it's a directional piece, that when you try to clone that over here, it's going to be the wrong direction because the hair actually kind of curves over and goes down. So cloning is not going to work that well. Also, taking the color of the brown and trying to paint it in, that's not going to work because you're going to lose definition of the hair on its own. So in our case, we're going to try a third technique by cutting and pasting. We'll cut a piece of hair out and put it closer to the gray area, and we'll duplicate it and put it on this side. So let's go ahead and grab the polygon tool. Specifically down here, we're going to change it from the polygon to the lasso tool. And that way we can just freehand grab a piece like, I don't know, let's say right around here like this, all the way down to here. And then to let go, and you see the marching ants, we're going to make sure that we have that layer chosen. We're going to right click and hit copy, and that made a new layer up here. If you grab it, you can see that it just copied it. I'm going to go ahead and lock the bottom layer so that we don't move it around by mistake, and go back to that top layer. Let's go ahead and duplicate that so we can put a piece on this side. So an easy way to duplicate it is to hold down the Alt key and then the left mouse button and just drag over to one side or the other, and that automatically makes a copy. Let's turn that around by going to Image, Rotate, come down here to Horizontal. If you hit the horizontal up here, it'll change the whole picture. Everything down here is just the layer that you chose. So if I hit horizontal, it changes just that one piece. Now, in order to place these into the right place, let's make them both 50% opacity. So I'll come up here and change that from 100 to 50, and now you can see it's see-through. We'll do the same thing with this one. Come up here and change that to 50. Now we want to just kind of carefully place these. Since the gray is right in the middle, and you can see it's along this edge, we want to come in a little bit right around here, and it's obviously too tall. I'm going to make this a little bit shorter, squat it down so it fits better, but we want to still try to make sure that we keep a little bit of that gray, just a tiny bit, because we want the definition of the hair as it curls down, and unfortunately that happens to be right in that gray section. So we'll come right around here for that and place it right around there. Let's go ahead and place this one. You can see I can turn it a little bit like that so it fits better, and then squeeze it down so it fits better up here in this section. Maybe I'll turn it a little bit like that. And that's looking pretty good. And it's okay if they overlap because we're going to erase the portion that we don't need anyway. So now I can grab one piece, grab an eraser. Let's make the brush a soft brush. So in the default brushes, you see they're hard lined up here, but if you scroll down, you can see they're soft brushes. And if I come up here, you can see the size. It's pretty small. So I'm going to change that to, I don't know, something like 150 points. Now you see how big that brush is. And that's the eraser. So now we're just going to erase along this layer like this, and then erase down here where we don't want it to be. And then come back up here. We'll use a bigger eraser to do a final softening after we're done. And let's go ahead and do the same thing with this layer, the left layer. I'm going to go up here and I'll erase along the portion there of the gray and the edge of the new piece. Come down over here, come up here, and right along the top end, right like that. Now, you don't see too much difference, but there's less gray already. If I turn those off, watch what happens. See how much more gray that is? So we already covered up a lot. So now let's take those portions and bring those opacities back up to something like 90%. If I go from 50, I don't want to bring it up all the way because then it starts to look fake. You can see it's doubled up. But if I go 90%, it still shows a little bit underneath. And I'll do the same thing with the other one. I'll change it from 50 to 90%. And look at that. It's looking pretty good. Now I can grab the eraser and do some final touch-ups. And because I really want to show that the hair has a part. So you want to leave a little bit of gray in there and then dissolve it. See, if I toggle this back and forth, you see how much of that's really covering the picture. So I'm going to change that eraser brush to a 250. Look how big that is. I have to be careful because if I erase too much, I'm going to start seeing that original gray. But look what I just did right there. it blends in the new piece with the old piece a lot better. I'm going to do the same thing with this one, but I see that gray comes all the way down to here, so I have to be careful not to go that far on this one. And I'm going to come down like that, see, right around there. Now when I pull out, I'm going to show you the before and after. Here's the original, and here's the after. That's looking pretty good. And then you could just kind of play around a little bit and try to chip away a little bit more at a time so that it looks really natural. And that's all there's to it. Now, if you really want, you could add a little bit of brown in the middle here. What I would do is put it underneath those pieces. So what I'll do is I'll open up a blank layer in between like that. And then I'll take the eyedropper tool, and I have to consider what color I want down there. Since it goes down, I want it to be a little bit darker. So here's the lighter end, here's the really dark end. How about we pick something in between, like right around there. Grab a brush, and I want to do a big soft brush. So I'm going to come up here and scroll down to the soft brushes, and I want this to be a huge brush, something like a 400. And I'll just go boom, boom, and that's it. Come back to the eraser, and bring the eraser back down to like a 100 point eraser, and then erase, making sure that you have a part there, all the excess stuff that we don't want. Now that brown that we just did on this layer, let me toggle back and forth, it's obviously too much. So what we want to do is change the opacity up here from 100, bring it down to like 0, and then bring it up little by little, and look what happens. It fills it in, just like it should naturally. And that's all there is to it. Once again, I'm going to show you the before. Boom, boom, boom. Now we added a little bit of brown in the middle just to give it a tiny bit of darker, and then fix both sides, the left side and the right side. And that's all there is to it. This is Rich calling it quits for this tutorial, saying over and out.